Hi, everyone. As Jenny mentioned, I'm Nichol Whiteman. I'm the CEO of the Los Angeles Dodgers Foundation, and I am so thrilled to be here today. Not only because we're all at the Play Equity Summit and we look forward to this day every single year, but because the LA84 Foundation and the Play Equity Fund have been such great partners of the Los Angeles Dodgers Foundation. So just want to shout out the whole team, but also really Renata Simrel, our dynamic leader, who is not only a friend and a mentor, but also an amazing board member of the Los Angeles Dodgers Foundation. So Renata, thank you for your partnership. Today, I have the pleasure of moderating a panel that sort of shifts gears this afternoon a little bit. We've been talking about legacy all morning, and it's been pretty amazing to sit in legacy, to understand how legacy was created, to understand who created legacy. But it's really important, as we've also heard, to continue legacy in our real life today and in the work that we are all doing as leaders in this room. And so our panel today is going to focus a little bit on policy, on investment, and on coalition building, as Jenny said, really talking about how some of this collective effort can help to move this effort forward, this play equity movement, just around inclusion and acceptance and access for our youth and our communities and for our families. We have three amazing panelists up here today, and you're going to hear from them. They are incredible leaders and decision makers in their own right, who I think are creating some transformative change, not only in communities, not only in cities, but also nationally. So first, to my left is Fernando Ramirez, your fan club member, your fan club leader, I should say. Fernando serves as the Chief Policy and Public Affairs Officer for the LA84 Foundation and Play Equity. Fernando leads public policy, he leads communications and marketing efforts while actively overseeing community organizations, the community organization and government relations piece of the work. Before joining the Play Equity Fund, Fernando spent more than 15 years in public service in leadership roles across the city and the county and with the California State Legislature. And then next we have Matt Geschke. And Matt,
all right.
Yes, I love this panel. Matt is the Senior Director of Social and Community Impact for Nike Americas. And in his role, Matt has been leading the strategy, the investment, and the engagement approach to how Nike is providing and powering the future of youth sport with a vision of an active, inclusive world that inspires all youth to play and achieve their greatest potential. Matt previously served as the director of the Laureate Sport for Good Foundation and was also with Peace Players in South Africa.
Deep.
And last but certainly not least, my other female counterpart up here, Tracy Myers.
Yeah, all right, Tracy.
Tracy is the executive director of the Kings County Play Equity Coalition. And Tracy brings nearly 2 decades of tackling some very important issues for nonprofits, in social work, in government, and education, all to advance equity and social justice. Welcome to Tracy, welcome to Matt and Fernando.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'm going to start with Fernando, and I'd like to talk a little bit about the Play Equity Fund. And I'd love to hear you talking about how it is preserving the LA84 Foundation's legacy along with the rest of it, and so how are you growing it, and what does it sort of mean?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Great panel. Also, great shoe game. We're talking about our shoes in the back. Sorry, had to throw that in there. But a phrase we have in our office that I think best describes our motto is philanthropy in motion. You guys all met Renata. Renata is very impatient with change. And so the idea of the, in a good way, I mean in terms of advancing systems change. So when she came on as the new CEO around 10 years ago, the current board really charged her with doubling down on impact. And so what better way to look at how do we impact more kids than to look at the systems and inequities that exist in our community, right? And that really takes a different framework in terms of how we approach the issues. So we're really designed as an enterprise model, really looking at the Sierra Health Foundation model up north and the center concept. And so really looking at what the foundation is doing, direct investments, and research, and then the Play Equity Fund, we're looking at systems change, public policy that allows more kids the opportunity to play. People always ask, well, what does that mean? Some tangible examples. It is now the law in California to have 30 minutes of recess, and it's more important, you can't take it away as a form of punishment. What that looks like in LA County is $15 million from Care First dollars that are going to sports-based youth development organizations. What that looks like is a really wonky bill that was passed that changed the funding formula for community colleges to allow nonprofits to use sports facilities. So really looking at the systems that allow more access and more kids to play and unlocking more resources. That's really the idea of the Play Equity Fund, really being, I hate this word, intermediary, but it's the catchword of the decade, I don't know. So really sort of bringing the coalitions of nonprofits that make up, we have about 50 organizations that are part of our coalition in LA that touch a variety of sports, the whole county, and really mobilize around issues that are trying to close the play equity gap. And that's sort of the model that's worked and sort of ready to get to the next level as all these major events are coming. The legacy of what 84 has sort of built and using that infrastructure to leverage that piece. And then last piece I would say is storytelling, really telling our story and uplifting sort of that lane of work in terms of where the voices of the folks on the ground doing the work is important. So
I think Play Equity Fund as an intermediary has been so beneficial to so many of us in the room and the work that we do and the communities that we serve. So I think we say thank you. We thank Renata for her impatience because it is so important, and the work that you've done just in a very short period of time is very commendable. I want to move to Tracy because I also think that one of the biggest pieces of this is coalition building. And it's not just a collection of programs, but it's really how are we actually coming together for this collective good. Can you talk a little bit about the coalition and what coalition building really does mean?
Yeah, I think coalitions, as far as being different than a collection of programming, is two things. One, it's being led by and directed by those that are most impacted by that, so those that are furthest from play equity and or grew up being furthest from equity. And two, all of the levers that make up that system all need to be a part of it and be at the table. So I have a little audience participation moment with you all. If you can, raise your hands if you are of the belief that all young people should have access to play. Awesome, that's like everyone in the room. Raise your hands if you believe that you are in your role, or even as a community member / leader, are a part of the youth sport ecosystem. All right, raise your hand, and this is not a shame thing, this is like, I just want to see the visual effect of it all. If you are a part of a coalition, or you invest in a coalition that is doing play equity, sport equity work in your local community through time or money. Wow, actually way more than I actually expected. Oh, we should have took a picture of that, right? My point is that all of you should be a part of a local play equity, sport equity coalition in your local community because you are all part of that system. And without having all of the pieces to the system, so in our coalition, we work with youth-based sports programming providers. That's our largest nonprofit orgs that are providing free or low-cost programming. Well, we work with government, we work with hospitals, we have our parks available to us, and then everyone is participating, and we have youth. I don't want to leave that out. And so we have to have all of those folks at the table to actually create real change. And we can have a lot of programming, but if we're not sharing a common goal that all of us are working toward and some shared values that all kids deserve to have access, then we may not be actually making real change together.
Yeah, real change. Thank you, Tracy. I'm going to go to Matt because Matt has been leading the Future of Youth Sports Cities, and Los Angeles has gratefully been one of those cities. Can you talk to us about how that ecosystem is strengthened by this sort of investment?
Thanks, Nicole.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. It always feels like homecoming coming back to these type of events. I see so many familiar faces, and it's just such a warm environment, and it's a environment that has a clear bias for action. So very appreciative of being here, and thanks for the privilege to be up with these amazing partners of ours as well. Nike was founded by a relationship between a coach and an athlete. So it's literally in our DNA of how we operate and how we think about that relationship. Our mission is to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. that athlete word has an asterisk on top of it. That means if you have a body, you are an athlete. So we look at the opportunity to serve all of those athletes. We think about perception. Is sport for me? We talked a lot about belonging today. A lot of young people in this world are not seeing sport as a place for them. We really have to obsess around belonging and what that looks like. Then we think about access and the importance of access to sport. We've talked about it all day today and how important that is. Transportation, funding, coaching, all of those things are critically important. And then if we can get the child through the door, that experience has to be amazing. That coach has to be there and say, I've been waiting for you. Where have you been? And give this amazing experience for that child. And then says the most powerful things that coach could ever say, I will see you tomorrow. And they show up again and again and again. Those kids feel like they are on the top of the world, that someone cares about them, that there's a trusted relationship. So when we think about our investments and our partnerships, we want to bring that ethos into all the things that we do. And we want to go deep in neighborhoods. We work with Fernando and team, and we have mapped the city of Los Angeles and are finding those least inactive communities. Those groups are now coming together through communities of practice, and that wider group is working directly with the Play Equity Fund to drive the change that Fernando was talking about. Play Equity is so sophisticated now that they are bringing training in around movement building. People that have and understand the complexity of how to drive an overall movement. Policy change, advocacy, engaging communities. They are doing the work so that we're seeing real systematic long-term change. We've taken this model and continue to do it in Chicago and Toronto and Mexico City and in New York, and we're seeing real positive results, not only on participation, but also retention, and more kids wanting to choose sport and see sport for them. So we have real momentum in this space. It's being driven, as Tracy said, by the community, for the community. We as a funder and supporter try and unlock what our superpowers are to fuel that movement forward.
Yeah. Wow, this is more than the four of us wearing Nikes on this panel. Nike is on the ground, in community, doing the investment, doing the right thing. And Matt, you hit it on the head when you talked about transportation and funding as key pieces of access, but that coaching piece is so paramount. And I'm grateful as the Dodgers Foundation that Nike has afforded us the opportunity to train thousands of coaches over the last 5 years as part of our all-star legacy. And a shout out to Center for Healing and Justice Through Sport in the room, who has been such a pivotal executor on that training for us so that coaches can say, come in, welcome, you belong here. I'm gonna go back to Fernando because I think in a few maybe panels later this afternoon, we're gonna hear about the California Play Equity Report. And I wanna ask you, how has that report helped to move the conversation from a belief to evidence? And how did that research contribute to the momentum behind the Youth Sports for All Act that you spoke about?
Amazing. I'm going to take a book out of Tracy's. Raise your hand if you've read the 2024 Play Equity Report on our website. Okay. We do a better job. No.
Someone distribute it right now.
It's 26
QR
copies.
code.
My former boss had a great phrase, right? Don't get mad, get data. And so to Matt's point, we really took it to the next level. Prior to sort of 4 years ago, the foundation would do a state of LA County, right? Documenting what are the rates, which is really important, of soccer for boys and girls in LA County. What are the rates of football, basketball, et cetera. 2 years ago, we really said, okay, if we want to do statewide work, we need statewide data. So we brought on Evitaris, who's going to be doing a quick preview, I think shortly after us, on the 26th report. Really took the question to a political polling firm and sort of flipped the questions. And we started with focus groups with kids and parents throughout the state of California, oversampled parts of the state often overlooked, Central Valley, far Northern California, Spanish-speaking parents, et cetera, and really went to bat. It's like, what are you all telling us? And that really helped inform the work that went into the advocacy we did over the last 2 years. We looked at the data, shocker, costs, transportation, and no longer fun were the top 3 reasons kids stopped playing. Black and Latino girls were most likely to be pushed out or dropped out. Central Valley and Riverside County, 2 parts of the state that had the highest push-out rates. And so that really helped inform and took our step back and said, okay, how do we approach this from a legislative intervention? True story, we invited Assemblymember Tina McKenna to our office, toured the exhibit, and said, Assemblymember, here's the data, and we presented 10 ideas of what could be legislative options for relief. And that, she picked number 3, I think it was on the board, which was looking at a department or commission of youth sports in California. I know our friends from Aspen Institute are here and have really studied what are models. The United States is one of the industrialized countries in the world to lack a sports ministry. So what better way to look at what government can do? Government can't do everything, but it can do a lot. And so taking a big tent approach to AB 749 creates a commission, the governor signed it last year, to look at what is the role and function of the state in the investment and regulation of youth sports. Right now, I would argue we know more about your kids, the person that cuts your kid's hair, their dentist, their doctor, their teacher, mostly everyone else that interacts with your kid than their coach. And so we think the framework that this bill would put forth is a game changer in terms of advancing equity and resources, right? Frankly, the government needs to step up to the plate and put resources in. The report, yep, there we go. Yeah. There's some government folks in the room, but I won't call them out. But more importantly, to the question about coalition, we didn't come in with just our own. We came in with 50 plus organizations, PCA, Center for Healing Through Justice Sport, the Playworks, and our partners on stage. Nike's lobbyists showed up and said, I support AB 749. The Dodgers, the Sparks, the Rams, all showed up and said, this is a bill we believe in and should be advanced. So I think that was the power of not just the grassroots, but really our partners every day coming to the forefront and say, we believe in this idea and advancing it forward. I won't go to the next question because what you can do now, but that's sort of the idea of taking the report the foundation did and operationalizing it on the Play Equity Fund side to really advance change. And it's so far been successful. It's our first bill we sponsored, and so sort of keeping the pressure up in Sacramento.
Yeah, yeah. Talking about putting that
Oh,
change
that's
to
amazing.
action. Amazing. You touched on grassroots, and I kind of want to hit Tracy for a second and talk about what does systems change look like on the grassroots level, especially when you're right now still building alignment and trust across the region.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably repeat this more than once, so just want to make sure that it's very clear that from a grassroots level, that means that it is being led by and for those that are most impacted. In Seattle-King County, we're very clear about what that means. It means that your leadership of your coalition has to be reflective of all of those grassroots organizations that are serving very specific groups of folks. It means your staff needs to be reflective. It means your coalition members also need to be reflective. That means we have women of color. It means we have Black and brown, indigenous folks of color, all of that. Our board, which was our leadership team that really moved all of our work, they're majority women of color, other folks of color, and that's who is actually leading and guiding the work. And I think that's what makes it actually grassroots, right? And the other thing is that when you all are coming together, no decision for the entire group is being made by just an individual. So there is that collectivism, there is that collective thinking and decision-making and moving. So we use action teams and all of the players that might impact a particular system, like fields and access to fields, which was mentioned. We have a facilities access action team. We bring all of those folks together and we don't tell them, hey, here is the thing you need to solve. What we do is we bring them together, we listen, which takes time, which some people don't like, but it takes a lot of time of deep listening, and they get to choose what is the problem that they are going to work on, and they solve it all together. So I think it's different than if you are in a position of power and privilege to then tell, hey, do this thing to solve this issue. From a grassroots level, you are really asking those impacted to come together, solve it all together, and ensure that you are actually making a difference and having an impact.
Yeah. It's so interesting to hear you talk because that in coalition is so important.
Right.
And it's very different from how folks are operating in that you're saying over time it has to be the voices of everybody.
Yes.
Or it's not going to be impactful.
Right, and some people have a hard time doing that.
Yeah, yeah, and it takes time. I'm going to move to,
Coffee.
yeah, go ahead, Fernando, jump in.
Oh, sorry, and coffee.
Time
And
and
coffee,
feeding
and
a lot of
coffee.
people. You do feed a lot of people.
And
Yeah.
free food, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Matt, from a brand perspective, what does it mean to invest in systems change rather than just the marketing visibility and the programming and things of that nature that we all are used to seeing, the sneakers?
It's a great question because it's tension for us, right? We will do something huge in LA for LA28. There's no doubt about it. We will be a massive brand that's here. In Milan, we painted a train orange, and we had the Inter Milan Football Club play in the snow as we launched to ACG. We took over the Pompidou in the middle of Paris. But the feedback is, of course Nike's going to do that. That's what's expected. We're a massive brand. It is a major sport moment. But if you lived in a district outside of Paris, did you truly feel that the Olympics were there? The answer is yes, because we have been investing in Paris for over 20 years. In Milan, the same thing. We've been working there for over 15 years. So the depth that we have is what we're most proud of. The tension with the brand and the business is that they are working on a seasonal cadence. That's how it's set up. They're moving through product, they're telling incredible stories, they're aligning around great sport moments. The community impact team is more into the transformational side of it, which takes time. It takes trust building, it's centering our communities, it's listening, it's being okay of how we invest unrestricted funding. Headcount is programmatic funding, right? Everyone that's writing a grant be like, oh, I need these 2 headcount to do. Yeah, of course, for the organization to be able to thrive. So we want those opportunities.
Like, yeah, clap for unrestricted funding.
Yes.
But it is a mindset shift that we have to do and champion internally to get our partners internally to understand when a big sport moment comes, that should be an opportunity to continue the momentum. Right? We have a position of strength here. We have great partners that are in Los Angeles. We want to elevate and platform you to be able to tell those stories. We want these inspirational moments to be an on-ramp to programming. We feel like the summer is the best time to capture kids and then move them into great programming. So we use these moments as inspiration and then work with our partners to up the amount of kids that are in these programs, not just to storytell or pat ourselves on the back for the work.
Yeah. Wow. I'm going to have Fernando expand on that a little bit because I want to know what the coalition work in Los Angeles has taught you about moving systems rather than just investing funds.
Yeah, I'd love to do that, but I just want to give a shout out to the Coalitions for Sport Equity who is in the house.
Yep.
We met yesterday. So there are like-minded organizations throughout the country that are doing the work in New Orleans, in Philly, in New York, and we meet. Shocker, we actually, as organizers, right, we met. So yesterday, we came in early and met at our campus to really strategize, share best practice, how do we tell our story, and sort of learn from each other. But for the LA experience, I think, for me, the biggest thing I took away was the trust. Like, there's a great story for the budgeting example I shared for LA County. For LA County, it was the first time they had really done a community budgeting process, right? So, which for folks in our government, that's kind of wild for LA to distribute millions of dollars. But they did it. They went out and submitted, you could submit a concept to fund A, B, or C. But then there was workshops and folks had to actually visibly show up to the Linwood Community Center and put a sticker on proposal 1258, you know, play for all, boom. Okay, we had a briefing call with our coalition members and explained to them the process, here's what you have to do. A brave soul, which would go undisclosed who they were, said, wait, you want me to go to Linwood on Thursday at 8 p.m., put a sticker on your proposal to fund your organization? And that was a really, I think, telling moment for us because it was a great question to tell with a group of like 50 people. But we're like, yeah, but the beauty of it is the money is going back out to the sector, right? We're submitting the proposal, and they trusted enough to say, here's what we want to do. And in that example, it worked because they were able to get organizations in the room are getting 3 years of funding from the county that would have not been on the table had they not advocated for it. So I think trust is the biggest thing that I've learned. And really like hearing what folks' needs are, to Tracy's point, like I'm not a provider. I have a complicated relationship with sports. I would say I didn't play sports. I'm an arts and theater kid. Shout out Culver City High School, thank you, woo. Arts program. But you know, I learned the lessons, and my only sports experience was the Mighty Ducks street hockey, but very LA story. But you know, so understanding that intervention and what that could do for folks, I think has been sort of what we can provide to them. Matt referenced the training, you know, bringing in Midwest Academy. What are the direct action organizing skills that folks could use? Folks from our ecosystem spent 3 full days at our campus learning direct action organizing skills. And you know, that's a big ask. And so really the trust and back and forth of how we can serve them better has been sort of what I've learned from our coalition work for the last 3 years.
That's awesome. Yeah. We were in the back talking about various sports experience. I think of ourselves and our kids, and Fernando said, no sports for me. I'm like the video commentator in this story, in this conversation. But you've been like video commentator, mediator for us. And so no sports, great. Complicated sport relationship with sports, great. But it has benefited us in a great way. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to go back to Tracy because I just want to talk about some of the biggest lessons you believe have come from the Seattle-Kings County Coalition, just about turning local energy into something that's durable and sustainable.
Yeah, I feel like competitive because I feel like this is a West Coast representation. And I'm like, did we do that first, or did LA do that first, or did Oregon, like all of that? So what I guess one of the biggest lessons for us is, again, just like the power of people. I think we can often think we need people of positional power, or we need funding, and of course that is nice to have resources and funding, and those things are important. But what we've learned is we can actually make shit happen with people. And the people that show up for that will make things happen. So we also passed a recess bill. I don't know which one came first, Fernando. We also passed. We did?
Yep.
Yeah. There's
okay,
a lot of
you.
competition.
All right. We also passed a statewide recess bill requiring 30 minutes of recess for K through 5 in all elementary schools. Thank you. And that was done by a group of volunteers. We had no paid staff supporting that at that time. There was only 2 staff, I think, for our entire organization. We had no lobbyists. And so it was a group of volunteers that did all of that organizing, that organized all of our coalition members, and that is the durable strategic action that they were able to accomplish. So I think the biggest lesson that I would love to share with all of you is that if you have, maybe you don't have a coalition in your area, but you have the group of folks who you know are passionate about this movement, don't necessarily let money and the lack of maybe who you deem is a big influence or power player in your community stop you. And just believe in the beautiful power of people, and we all have gifts to share. I'm Osage Native American is part of one of my identity factors, and it just, hey, yeah, you know? And it's great to be in a place where I get to live the way that I am and be able to do that in the work of a coalition, of like truly seeing that you take care of your family and your community members like they are family. It doesn't mean that I'm gonna bring you $100, but I might bring you the food and the meal that you may need for that day, or I might bring you a blanket for warmth. We have resources to share as human beings. That doesn't necessarily mean we need power, what we deem as power, and money. So I think that's a big lesson. The coalition has been able to move through the power of people.
Love that. We want to create more of these, yes, we absolutely want to create more of this healthy competition with more coalitions. How do you start? Like, what do you say to people in this room who want to do this?
I think you have to have, we were, I think, fortunate. Sorry, I'm hitting something. The coalition was really able to start because there were already youth sports organizers out there specifically serving groups of folks. Like we had girl serving organizations, we had Black BIPOC-led organizations specifically doing sports for Black boys in a particular community. We had folks like that. We had groups that were serving refugee and immigrant communities, and they were part of our report, that the State of Play report that we were doing. They were all a part of that, and they chose to do something about that report together. And so you have to be able to find folks that have a willingness, right? Just there's already people out there that are doing the work and believe in this work, and really you just have to facilitate them meeting each other and coming together to really get the coalition started. And so I think it just takes time to learn your community and find those community leaders that are doing great work and bringing them together.
Yeah, thank you. Fernando, if there's one thing that you want people to leave this panel with today when you talk about legacy becoming action, what is it about the Play Equity Fund you want them to remember?
Great question. I just wanted to go back one thing I said so it's not misconstrued. My, I think, relationship with sport is growing up gay in LA, I didn't feel safe playing sports, and I shout out to Rainbow Labs or Things in the House, really providing opportunities for LGBT youth. And I think that's also part of why the bill is so important. You know, government intervention into these sort of sectors. And nice tee up to AB749, we need money. So those of you who walked through the Bad Bunny Casita house, that was a joke, thank you who got it. Right in front of it, there's a beautiful action center called the AB749 Action Center. We are asking the governor and state budget leaders to invest $3 million into the report, commission being done. And so we have until May 15th when the May revise comes out. So April 15th, your taxes are due, so please pay your taxes on time so that we have enough resources in California. But we really want to send a voice to budget leaders in California that youth sports for all should be funded in this year's budget and made a priority. The goal, if we're kept on time, is recommendations from the Blue Ribbon Commission will come out, shocker, first quarter of 2028, right in time when eyes of the world are on LA. What better legacy to leave than a commission of youth sports for the entire state of California that funds and provides resources to kids throughout the whole state as a legacy of the games to come. So fill it out. We have your registration information. I know who won't fill it out because we get the list. So it takes 30 seconds to fill it out. It goes a long way when they get those emails from folks from all of you. So that's my plug for the Action Center.
Thank you. Amazing. Matt, would like for you to share your plug. So what's the one thing that you want this group to remember today, and how are you challenging us to support these efforts?
Thanks, Nicole. Building off what Tracy had said, in 2019, we started to hear a lot about this people power mobilization that was happening. It was driven by the Coalitions for Sport Equity. And it was about 7 or 8 different cities that were starting to have success. So we started to invest in that organization as it was building. If you fast forward now, there's over 1.5 million kids that are in organizations associated with the Coalitions for Sport Equity, 700 plus organizations, and they are driving the scale and impact that you heard on stage today. This movement is happening. There is no doubt. And everybody raised their hand on the question around connecting with the coalition. We have a huge opportunity to use the momentum that we have in the sports space to really flip this on its head, to center the community, to make sure everyone has a seat at the table and that they have access and an amazing experience. And because of that, we decided to launch with other partners, and some of them are in the room today, the Move Fund. Woo. So the Move Fund is a pooled fund. It's the first time Nike's ever participated in something like this. Again, going back to what Tracy and Fernando have hit on, we are doing things differently. We are a contributor, we're a participant, we're a listener. We are just one of the many organizations that are a part of this, and we want to create space for others at the table. The goal is to raise $30 million by 2030 and pour those into the coalitions that are operating in these cities to help these communities thrive. So we have kicked that off. We have about 20% raised so far, and we have I'm pleased to announce we have our first cohort of grantees that will be receiving that money. There's 12 cities that will be receiving that money, and we will have an RFP process later on this year as well for our second group of cohorts. So thank you. I'm just a representative of an incredible steering committee and all the coalition work that will be happening. There's no better way to say it, though, than a video. So please cue the video. Good afternoon, everybody. It is an amazing privilege to stand up here to help celebrate 1 year of the Move Fund and to be inspired about where we're going.
When you combine what sport has, you have an intervention that is different than anything else you can do for young people.
To me, what the Move Fund is about, and we're doubling down on that approach that's working in many places and seeing, hey, how can we take this to the next level?
We're aiming to partner with bold and like-minded people like yourselves to raise $30 million and move to a national movement.
We don't want to lose sight on who we serve and ensuring they're represented in our coalition.
There's so many opportunities in life, and as a para-athlete, I really do think it goes a long way to just do a scary thing. You'll inspire so many people.
As you're listening today, think about how you can translate it in a way that they're going to understand, because we need more champions of sport.
It takes 8 years, 12 years, 10 years to really see progress and change. And so I think being able to continue to talk to funders like yourselves, to be able to see the importance of doing both direct service grants and system change work requires resources on both sides of the equation.
So this is our first public-facing announcement that we've done. I encourage you to go on LinkedIn and check out the Move Fund. The website is up, themovefund.org. You will learn more and more about this as we create some significant momentum here. This is the moment. This is our time to meet the moment. The sports world is watching. Communities need us more than ever right now. Local coalitions are sick and tired of not having these opportunities, and they're doing something about it. As evident of what we've heard here today, there are groups of coalitions in the room today. Please connect with them, raise your hand. The power together of the collective is what is gonna flip this on its head and create more and more access and joy and belonging that we need for our kids as we move through this amazing journey of sport in the United States.
Thank you,
That's
Matt.
what
I think we need more of these brand movements like the Move Fund. This is tremendously amazing, and I think it's going to be such a impactful piece for so many that are already in the room benefiting, as I know many of the Move Fund recipients are here, but for future classes of recipients as well. So thank you and Nike for this tremendous investment. Fernando, Tracy, any comments on that?
Yeah, I just recalled a story. So we are lucky to be a recipient of the Move Fund. And when we applied, as we do with most grants, we're like, okay, we got to say what we're going to use this for. Ours was to hire a development director. Again, we were a staff of 3. Hired that development director 2 weeks ago, and she's awesome. And I remember I got the contract to sign. And I was looking for what are the things I promised to do that I'm gonna have to actually do. And it was operations. And I emailed, I think I emailed Sandra. I was like, am I reading this right? Did y'all miss all the things I said I was gonna do with this money and didn't put it in the contract? And they're like, no, honestly, you could use it on whatever you need as an organization. And I probably fell on the floor because I was like, what? Are you serious? And I think that is the power of the Move Fund is I feel some sense of security as a small nonprofit organization because I have this money that they gave me fairly quickly. It came in 30 days, which is also not common. Sitting in my bank account, and I'm doing what I got a development director who's gonna bring in more money, but I can really use it for what is needed right now and reactive, but also as a foundation to leverage even more money.
Nothing to add, but I was going to say, I think there's a map to cue another AV item up that shows the cities that got allocations this first round. Or maybe Matt has to say it for it to work. Oh, there we go. So give it up for the first, congratulations, the first round of grantees. I would just say, jump in, the water's fine. If you're not in the Play Equity movement, by being here, you are now officially sanctioned as a member of the Play Equity movement. So come on down, the water's fine. And let's get to work. The next 3 years, I think, are going to be pivotal, not just for LA, but for California and our country, to be fair. There's a lot happening, and so now more than ever, we need all kids to have the power of sport, play, and movement.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to all three of our panelists. Let's give them all a round of applause. This has been an incredible conversation. I was so excited to be able to moderate, just given the overlap of the work that we do at the Dodgers Foundation and the learnings that everyone in this room can take away from this. As I mentioned, we shifted from talking about the creation of legacy to really putting it into action. And so I hope that people have the best takeaways today about coalition building and about investment and about creating funds and ways in which we can really get on the grassroots level and have this transformative impact through sport for our youth and for families and for communities. So thank you, everyone. Thank you to our panelists.
Thank you.
Nicole.